go, sorry. And welcome to Co-op Guild!
Oh, you better one. Sure I did. Ready where I? The Force, you must learn.
Yep. And so we have a special guest with us today, apparently. Yoda joining us. He's got all the knowledge. So, hey everyone, this is our live chat with apparently Yogi Bear. Oh boy, here we go. Hey Snow, how's it going? Hey Yogi Bear. Hey Steph, how you been?
Oh dear.
Big question do you have?
Can I get my spot back, Yoda?
Yeah, you can swap back Yoda. You're good now. Good Lord.
Yoda, can I ask you a question?
Ask a question, you should. Answer I will.
Can
yes or no.
Can I have my spot back?
Baron's been having a
Please?
was
Can I have
happy
my
to
spot
get
back?
Bears for Yoda, so.
An answer, you see?
Hey Lane,
Yes.
how's it going? Hey Mike, yeah, it's a cool mini. Exactly. Yeah, mini. Which ties into our topic today. So
Give me my spot. Can I have my spot back? What are you gonna tell him about the dark side? No. What are you gonna do? You're gonna stay. Don't look. Don't look over there. Look at me.
he's upset with you now.
He's not liking me. Maybe
Wait.
you could tell him about the Force.
The Force.
Oh,
Yes.
yes.
Extend your hand, you must.
Oh
And
boy.
push the Force.
Oh boy.
Push you.
That sounds real pervy.
Yeah, the mini's the size of a child. It's not a mini, exactly. How much of fun Baron's padded cell? Hey Matthew, how's it going?
Yoda said I'm allowed to sit here now.
Okay, good.
Oh, that's incredible. That's incredible.
But yeah, we're gonna be talking about minis versus standees, but not like should be used in games, but more of like packages of them when it comes to options, because we've seen some trends when it comes to offering both when it comes to crowdfunding games and what the result of that has been, and I think that's something we should address and dive into more. So let's start with an example. So Valorant Villainy, great game, really enjoyed that one. That's one of them backed. That game had a retail version, which was standees, and a deluxe version, which was minis. And I would say close to about, I don't know if the pledge manager closed or not, but long story short, there was only about 200 backers for the retail standee version, and there was close to 3,000 for the miniatures. And they just wound up, it wasn't feasible financially for them to support the standee version. So they upgraded all the people who did the standee version automatically to the mini version.
Now,
And so,
I'm under the understanding that I could be wrong, and there is a strong possibility. Though, if I remember right, standees versus miniatures when it comes to production, a lot of times it doesn't have as much of a difference in cost as you would normally think, depending on the producer that does the miniatures versus the standees. Cardboard components are pretty expensive, not only in production, but also like weight and things of that nature, if I'm correct. Is that right or not?
I don't think so. Because you have to build the mold, which is expensive.
yeah.
Like
Okay, I
after
didn't
the
know.
mold is built, then you could just cast out as many things as you want, but the
Right.
huge upfront cost is in the mold itself.
Right.
And let's say you have something like, oh, I don't know, Darkest Dungeon, which has 10 billion minis, and all there's 3 of each type. That's a mold for each type.
Right.
So your cost is stacked on the different molds that you do, which I believe really adds up. And so that would make the mold more expensive in the long run than the cardboard.
Okay.
Or in the short term, should I say. A large upfront burst cost. So I don't think they're the same.
Yeah, not the same. Well, I mean, that's what Snow's mentioning here. It's not a huge difference, but there is a difference when it comes to it, right? Because I know people are assuming that minis cost so much more than something like a standee, and that's
Yeah, I mean,
probably
it's not like paper components cost like a penny to
Right.
make, and then
Right.
miniature for each miniature it's $3. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's
I
I think it's more comparable than people think. I think is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, standees, it depends on how you make your standees because you can have acrylic standees,
Those are
which can be
expensive. Those are
expensive.
expensive.
You can have the thick layer standees, which are also expensive, or you
Mhm.
can have standard standees, which aren't expensive.
Mhm.
But then again, you have that whole thing of, there's this trend of people wanting minis because of immersion, dot 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 dot. So it's more, because they want that, I assume that's the reason why they push more for it, and they don't want the cheaper looking standees. To me,
I don't know. Maybe I'm not sure what the reasons are necessarily why people back
yeah, I
miniature
don't know
standees.
that. I don't know that
But
either.
it's more like what we're seeing is there is when you offer both, there's a huge discrepancy between how many people choose actually put money in on the standee version versus the mini version.
And I have to believe that's not attributed to print cost because
It
it's
has nothing to do with print
no
costs.
the people who are backing the game have no idea how much either one of those things
Exactly.
costs.
No,
So then the question goes is why the discrepancy?
it is
Right.
just the community that's picking it, right?
Yeah.
But it's such a huge discrepancy. Like I just gave those numbers from Valent Village. We're looking at 3,000 versus 300.
Yeah.
Like that's huge. And it's not feasible for the smaller publishers to be able to support those standees version because that's what we're seeing right now. Like Deep Rock Galactic is another example we saw. They had a retail version and then they had a mini version. And I didn't look at the numbers yet for that one. I can look that up in a little bit here, but the expansion that came out did not have a standee option. In the previous campaign, they had a standee option.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty positive that is because it is not feasible for them to do such small print runs.
Yeah, that it would be more expensive to do smaller. If you get it larger in
Right.
bulk, if 3,000 people would have done
Standees.
standees,
Exactly.
then it would have the cost would have been
Right.
equivalent.
And this is something I want to talk about because I feel like I'm seeing that a trend in a lot of games that are coming out, like Assassin's Creed's another one. They had a standee retail version, and then they just did expansion for Apocalypse, and there was only a miniature version for that one. They mentioned that they were going to look into doing a standee version, but who knows, right? And then I'm seeing this trend right now where, as much as standees are a great option, especially for space claim on your shelf, um, I'm seeing that as more of a risk lately because if more content comes out in the future, what we're seeing here is that it might not be supported in the future due to these production costs.
I wonder what the difference for Oathsworn was, because honestly, I know probably more people that have played the game with the standees than
Mm-hmm.
have played it with the miniatures. Like I know Mike uses the standees. I know that Peter uses the standees. I think he might use the miniatures. I know William used the standees, and a lot of them, like you said, this one is more for shelf space
Yeah.
because you get 3 huge boxes for miniatures when it comes to Oathsworn, which is astronomical when it comes to the amount of space you're doing. Where with the standees, I think they come in the core box, if not, or something similar. So I mean, I can totally get a game like that probably going more, I wouldn't say 50-50, but having a bigger difference where it depends on the amount of miniatures you're getting. I think in the size and the amount of them is where you're going to start seeing that difference. Now, another thing to talk about is, like Kanji said, making the mold. Well, that's great and all, but then once you get the mold made, if you're making, like, for example, here's Myth. These are all like one miniature. I mean, they're all the
Then it's
same.
cheaper.
So
Yeah.
they're the minions. They're like I mean, they're printing out those like water. That probably cuts down because you're not having as many molds, and then you have the same miniature. And I'm not a fan of that, but it is what it is because that's what you have to do for
Yeah.
cost wise.
Yeah.
Like I know Derek and I both looked at Orc one. This kind of came because of Orc. Was it Orc
Quest.
or Quest? Oh, that's it. Because we're looking at going like, oh well, look at all these peasant miniatures. They're all the same. They're the same miniature. There's 8 of them. All this. Oh, 4 dogs, all the same. Oh, 8 of these guys, all the same. Oh boy, these are gonna be fun to paint. So and that's, some people like painting assembly line painting. Derek is not an assembly line painter.
Hate it.
Hate it. He hates it. See, I hate painting houses. That's what I hate.
Now, on that point, would it bother you if it was a standee version and all the standees were exactly the same?
No.
No, because then you don't have to paint them.
So it's just because the painting you don't
Boom.
like it.
I think it's more
Oh, mic drop.
it's not only just painting.
Okay.
I think it's I'm stacking my shelf with 30 of the same thing when I could save that space if it was a token.
Texas, yes.
Yogi hates Texas.
Yeah, I get that.
I,
That makes
I'm
sense.
I'm slowly, my brain is slowly, as I get older, my old curmudgeon-y age. I'm seeing myself wanting to say, what do these miniatures bring to the game, and if that makes it worth it. Now I know the question that you're asking as part of this topic is, why is it going to this trend and what's shifting this trend?
Right.
I think Barrett answered some of that a couple, like, way back when we were talking about standees and minis in a different
Sworn,
context
that's what we were talking
before,
about.
where people want that immersion, right? But I don't. I wonder if it's a false immersion. I'll use that term because I don't have the proper language for it. It's just more, you can still enjoy the game and get fun out of the game with without them, but people want them.
Yeah, you want them. I mean, any game. I mean, like, would you rather? I don't know. I like if you're talking about Oathsworn, that just looks super cool on the table. That's just the deal, and it
I
looks
think
awesome.
like it look is that a and Barrett,
I've looked at the Standees version. I would not be as excited to play it.
well, let me ask you this. So you've played through all of Oathsworn. You and Colin have completed
Mhm.
it, complete 100%. My set of it is, do
I got my
you
gamer score for that. 100% of the
do
game.
you feel the same way that you did at the beginning about the minis that you did at the end, where you were like, if this was a standee, it would have been fine?
No, it wouldn't have been fine. I don't know how much more fun. I don't think I would have had as much fun
Okay. Okay. All the
because
way
it was
through.
cool to see
Okay.
like all the trees on the board with like the big miniature moving around it, and like having all those little other minis coming out, like the little minions and stuff. I mean, granted, it also was fully painted, so it looked really cool.
Okay.
There's a bunch of gray minis running around the board. Maybe it'd be just as good as standees. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the reasons I like to always make sure my games are painted. They're fun to play more, I think, when they're painted.
They're
I think
fun to play, or they're more visually appealing.
yeah, more visually appealing, so I want to play it.
Right.
So there's a comment I want to highlight here. Frederick mentioned this. Depends on
Only
the
if it's a
game.
good comment about me.
Imagine Monster Hunter with standees, and he follows up with a monster tile and cardboard as big as an old 7-inch record, right? And I think this kind of ties into a little bit of the style of game that provides some level of functionality when it comes to miniature for standees. And I say this when it comes to a game like Oathsworn, or I'll actually on the thumbnail use Stars of Karios, where facing matters.
Yeah, but okay, go ahead. I
Facing
have thoughts. Go
matters.
ahead.
Yep. It is probably easier to discern that when you have a base and a standee that is
Nope.
easy to tell from different angles.
And I say no
Go
to
ahead.
that. I say no to that.
Go ahead.
To me, Stars of Akarios, I would not back the minis going. If I could go back, I would take the standees, because the
Okay.
standees stand up and you could tell where the front of the ship is. So turning it is not an issue, whether it's a mini or a standee. To me, the standee provides the same amount of depth for me. And I can say for me.
So I would actually disagree with that, because I think the base drives that information. You need to have a base that aligns to your whatever grid you have, squares or hexes, so that you have a clear delineation of what is forward facing, what is rear facing.
So then
I,
the disadvantage of that, then, it's not that the standee didn't provide that. It's that the standee's base was not made equivalent.
You need to have some physical, some 3-dimensional thing to help delineate your orientation within your defined space. This is my UX thing coming out.
I don't know if I agree with that.
Mhm.
Like let's do this. So
go ahead.
to me, if I have a standee, a 2-dimensional thing that stands, let's turn it sideways so people can see, like this, and there's an arrow that's here that tells me where forward is, then I automatically know where the back is. It's here.
Yes, but if
So
it's
so there is no, it's still two-dimensional. It's still an arrow
th-
that is doing this that lets me know that it's the front of the ship.
think about it this way: if I have a circle in a
If
in a hex hole,
okay,
okay,
and then on
with an
that
arrow,
circle you have an arrow that points forward.
correct. Now, if I had a hex piece in a hex hole, what is easier to tell facing?
Both.
Disagree, because one of
Because
them is locked into the edges, one of them has play, right?
what?
Because the circle won't actually align directly to the edges of the board, right?
Well, if we're talking about a hex, it won't sit in the hex like 100% positive, but you always know where circle is. And with hexes, let's talk about geometry, where if hexes are, you know that we're not dealing with 10-degree and 20-degree angles. We're dealing with each side of a hex. So if I point that arrow at this side of the hex, I know exactly what side it's on.
Yeah, we were straight each other. No. Isn't coming down from like this is the UX side.
I get it. I get it. I get it.
Because I'm coming from
And I'm an
what is-
engineer, so we can,
Well, yeah.
we're engineers talking.
yeah.
We're engineers talking.
Because the UX side of me says this is aligning to the pattern I have defined on the board. Like, why not leverage your definitions?
You're saying the definition. If you're going to use a circle instead of a hex in terms of your alignments on the board, which makes sense.
Something like that, yeah.
Which makes sense.
Right.
But my thing is that
Yeah, Baron's got the thing, so
it would, yeah. It to me that would
like
not
that
would
be great.
but that would not deter. Sorry, what's he holding up?
So-
Oh, that's the stars
That's
of
Lucario's
Lucario's
base.
Yeah.
because their bases are hexes, which is great because it makes it easy to align to it, right?
Okay, so
But that is for the miniatures.
and for me, if the
It's got
standees
arrows,
of this
and it
could
shows
be,
me.
they can give you a hex space for a standee to put it on,
Yeah, that's fine.
and then
That's fine.
then it would go with it. So I guess my thing for Stars of Ikarios is that if the standees
He's not protesting. Yeah.
if the standees and the minis are not giving the equivalent experience, that's
Well,
the problem.
Snow mentioned this one, which comes up right. If the standee's facing you, you have a visibility impact, right? Because you're seeing the edge of the standee and not the miniature, right? So that is where that's where the miniatures actually have value when you have facing that is specific to the gameplay.
If the standee has facing, it can face you, and then you have no idea what it is.
Correct. She's saying look at the edge of the standee.
Yeah.
If you look at the edge of the standee, you can't tell what it is because you're seeing the cardboard edge.
Yep.
Is that an argument though?
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
We
think
live
about
in
it.
a three-dimensional world. I can do this.
Correct, but that
Okay,
is,
you can do
So
that.
that
The
is
only-
a bad.
have I just ruined immersion?
No, it's not immersion.
Yeah,
It's
okay.
experience,
The only game I have that has standees that I regularly play is Machina Arcana. Wouldn't that be better? Would I? But I still play it. It has standees, totally fine. One, there's a miniature option, I don't think.
Yep.
And but I think it would be cool to see what kind of miniatures they would have designed for that game. I think it would be really neat because they have these like such amazing looking or concepts for like what these creatures look like on these standees. Now, is it easier to do it that way? Probably not. Or would it be more expensive to do that way? Maybe. I don't know. But and the other option is if they have that many standees, then I would feel like we'll eventually get to the painting parts of this. I know people are saying, well, miniatures, if you paint them, obviously are going to be way better. Well, a lot of people don't paint their miniatures, and that's totally fine. Yeah, case in point. But I'm when I'm playing that game, and yeah, when they come at me and moving around the board, it just feels so like different than if I was playing something like Sword and Sorcery and the guys were chasing me down the board or trying to get me and things like that.
And I think that's the thing I want to kind of set. I'm not saying that if people want minis for their games and that helps with that immersion, good on you, right? I'm not going to take away from that experience or try to degrade that experience. I think what I'm finding for me is I don't need that anymore for that. And like I saw in there where Yogi was like, oh yeah, you're not backing Dice Throne because you've got Marvel United. How many times, Steve, have I told you I would love Marvel United without minis?
That game is a perfect example of a game that doesn't need the minis because
if you give me tokens,
to our discussion earlier, there's no facing involved.
Nope.
It's
Right.
just a space. You could have literally anything.
Yeah. So my thing
Anything.
is, if Marvel United gave me tokens, I'd be fine.
I'd be fine
I'd
too.
be fine.
Yep.
I'd be fine with it. It's more. I think I'm at that splitting point for myself, and I can only speak to my experience that I I care more about the story and the mechanics of the game than I care about the components. If someone says, "Well, I won't buy a game if it doesn't have minis," I'm not that person. Like, I'll still buy it.
I'm not that person either. I will buy a game based on its theme, its story
Yeah, yeah,
components, its mechanics. I'm with you, Derek, on that. Anything else that's thrown into it is usually just a bonus.
yeah,
Like
yeah. It's the fluff.
I'm not Arcana like crazy because I love the theme, love the
Yeah,
mechanics of that game. It only has standees. Great. Could I put in my what is it? What game do I have? Like I've got Bloodborne and I've got other games that have minis I could throw on the board.
yeah,
And would it be just as cool? Sure.
yeah,
But I mean, if they don't have that, that's fine. Now, coming back to the idea of when you're backing a Kickstarter, do you go minis or standees, and the price is the same? People are always going to go minis.
oh
But it's
yeah, yeah.
now
price
the
is the
thing is,
same.
so how much of a difference is it? I mean, when you're looking at different, I mean, sadly, I've seen too many Kickstarters fail because they didn't have minis, and then all of a
Yes.
sudden start adding minis to it, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, boom! Now all of a sudden it backed.
Yeah. Yeah. Dice Throne's a good example of that in terms of price costing, and this is what Yogi was talking about in the chat. I'm a huge fan of Dice Throne. And Dice Throne has had standees going for their characters and for adventures and all that, but then they had this upgrade of minis that you can get. Now, on the current Dice Throne Kickstarter, the base game, which comes with standees, is $165. I think is how much it is, 165. If you the next one that you get, which is that, let's say you add card sleeves, that and whatnot. Let's say the total price of all and the acrylic and all that, the total price comes to about 214, 229.
Mm-hmm.
When you add standees, it goes to 449.
Yeah.
Well, not standees, sorry, minis.
Minis,
When you
yeah.
add minis, the price goes from 229 to 449.
That's too big of a jump for me.
But that's standees, that's the immersion, that's the thing. And so
It
that's where I
depends
was
on.
like,
I mean,
but
yes, that's the immersion. But again, it's only if is it worth the money for that for a big
okay,
cost
all
or a
right,
big jump like that? I don't really think so.
gotcha.
Now,
Frederick actually says has a good thing. He says if I can choose, I prefer wood meeples unless it's a game like Zombicide or Monster Hunter where table presence is important. I'm the same way. How many Euros do you see that have like amazing standees? Like none. It's
Yeah,
all like
they're all
I mean,
meeples.
no, you don't need them. You don't need it. There's no reason for that, right? Because you're just taking people and moving them around. You're not there's the immersion isn't there. You don't need that kind of
Yeah,
immersion
yeah.
coming through. And I totally agree with him on this one because I played a ton of games that have just little meeples or little like things like I have villagers or moon or what is it, the other one, sidewalks or something. I forget of it. All
Yeah.
these like different Euros that we play that were that I don't need that because
Like,
that's not the game.
but
That's
like,
not part of being the feel of the game.
yeah, one of the ones that you and him brought up is Zombicide.
Yeah.
I think Zombicide is too much, only because when the zombies mount up, you are wielding ridiculous amounts of plastic on the game table. To me, it ruins the immersion because here's this one space with 20 zombies on it that can't fit on the tile that of the space that they're supposed to be occupying. So as they move, you've then got to clump them together unwieldy and push them forward. And some of them fall over, some of them don't fit. Stuff's
Okay, they're
getting knocked
zombies. You're not going to be able
around.
to stand up all the time.
Do what?
They're zombies. They're not going to stand up all the time.
Well, the thing is
They fall
keeping
over.
keeping them
I'm
contained in
kidding.
their defined area becomes unwieldy.
Everyone ball green danger.
Right.
I mean, but
so you're
from a
okay.
merchant
So
standpoint,
you're
seeing
you're
that
okay with basically what you need to do then is just take all the standees out of Dead of Winter and just use them for zombie side, and you'll be
I would
fine.
love that. Oh
There
my
you go.
gosh, I would love that.
but you can
There,
still have the same
fixed.
problem though.
Yeah, you would.
I mean, it doesn't solve the problem.
Give me a token with a counter.
You still have the same
No,
problem though.
one token and a counter. No, I don't.
Oh, wait, using the counter as the number of
Yes.
managers? Yeah.
One token and a counter. I
But-
do not have the same problem.
But then you're losing out on that.
I'm not losing immersion.
There's
There's still 20 zombies coming at me. when we were playing Legendary last night,
Yeah.
there was a mass thing in the city. I felt that depth, and there were no minis.
Yes, but there was a number of cards though.
Yeah.
It's,
But and you could stack those when it gets ridiculous.
Well, you don't normally stack them, but yes.
No, but you could. I'm saying like you could when it gets unwieldy, like that Doom bot.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's just more. As I said, I don't want to take away people's immersion from it, and the main thing of it to me is if we're talking about Kickstarters and why this phenomenon is happening, I think the answer is in what Barrett's been talking about.
But to bring it back to the original topic, because we got a little much on the immersion there, but Dice Throne, for example. Here's my concern. Right now, you have the option of getting a miniature version or not. If, for example, like we've seen the trend is, a ton of people wind up getting the miniatures, and now they no longer support the standee version in the future. Is that going to be a problem for you?
Yes.
That is what I'm talking about tonight.
Yeah, it will, because I
So you won't buy the game?
No,
well, that's the question.
I think it depends on the price point, Baron. Like,
I agree on that.
If it says, oh yeah, we're no longer making a $169 game, you have to spend $449, then no, I won't buy the game.
I agree. I would be the same way.
If it's like we're no longer making a $169 game, instead you have to pay $179, then yes, I'll buy the game. Right. So it's price. I think what you said earlier, Baron, is what's the price point on it?
Yep. What's the difference? How much of a difference is it? And if it's not a big difference, it's minis all the way. Just because you're going to have the added stuff for the but again, then you have to decide space wise, is it worth it? That on top of price point, space wise, is it worth it? Like I said, Osworn is out of control. 3 huge boxes of miniatures, and they're all at Colin's house now.
So I mean, ultimately, what I'm leaning towards is the solution for this is remove that optionality.
What do you mean?
Wherever the publisher decides, standees or minis, don't care. Just give me that.
Well, I don't think that could work for them though. They've tried that, and that's the reason why they're doing they're doing minis. It's either you or Barrett said that on this one where it was that we've watched Kickstarter struggle, and then as soon as they add standees to it, they blow up and they get and I'm sorry, damn it. As soon as they get minis added to them, they blow up. They get funded. They're doing fine. And
that's fine. But so I don't give me the standee option then. If you do that, I don't care what it is. That's what I'm saying. The problem is when you have a standee option, I think,
so
and a mini option. No, it doesn't have to be come on. It doesn't have to be come on. I mean,
no, I'm saying go the come on option. Minis all the way.
If that's what they do, it's fine. That's fine. But what I'm saying is when you have the option, I'm seeing a trend where the standee option, the retail option, doesn't get the support it needs. That's what I'm saying. Can we remove that?
Just don't do it.
Just don't do it, right?
Yeah.
And maybe, I mean, honestly, cost is a big factor, right? Production costs. I don't know. But if you have one SKU, that should help, right? As opposed to multiple SKUs? I don't know.
Robin would like to know, is anyone else trying really hard to focus on the topic? But also...
you want to see my shirt? If you like it, you should have put a meeple on
it. Wow, that's amazing. That's good stuff. But yeah, back on the topic. Sorry about that. Yes, I mean they have to figure out which way to go. I'm not gonna say that some Kickstarters failed because they didn't have a miniature option. I mean, 2 of the people that I know really well in the industry, when it came to doing Kickstarters, their first one failed, and they did try to go all cardboard. The second time through, one shrunk the amount of stuff was going to be in the box, and the other one added miniatures to the game. Now, of course, on top of that, both people also did a lot more when it came to actually publicizing the game, getting it out, all of it notarized, like people noticing it, things like that. Like they went above and beyond when it came to press, I guess you could say, of the game. So I don't know how much more that helped versus.
I'm sure it's not linear. Yeah, I'm sure it's not linear. Like, I went minis and I successfully funded. I'm sure it's not.
But I just wonder how much that really helped, like some people. You know what I mean? Because Gloomhaven.
I think it plays a factor.
which is because like I mean the one I'm talking about is like, for example, Rogue Angels. He decided to go miniatures for his heroes, which I'm sure that's the way it backed and did so well isn't because of that. I don't think.
Right.
But it probably made a little bit of a help when people see him in there and go like, oh, cool, I can get these neat miniatures for this game and be able to play. And then they look a little more into it. It's like, oh, yeah, this game's really cool. And whoa, yeah. And then they watch Steve and Derek's playthrough and they're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And they go and get it.
Yeah. There's oh sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, let's
No,
stay on let's stay on topic. Let's stay on topic.
Stay on topic.
I was gonna say, I lost my train of thought. Dang it.
Yeah.
I lost my train of thought. It's fine.
But then the other problem is when you get that game and you're like, oh my gosh, this is cool. It comes with 233,000 miniatures. I'm so excited for this game. Believe it or not, those are the games I'm not excited for. And I think, Derek, you and I are in the same boat on this one because we have a limited amount of time to be able to play a lot of these games. And all of a sudden I look at this game and now I have what's called an unpaintable game in my eyes. I'm looking at 42 peasants, all the same. I'm not going to paint all those peasants. That's no. I'm not gonna. Honestly, when I got the miniatures for Assassin's Creed, I was like, nope. I'll paint the heroes on this one. I'm not painting all those crossbow guys that look like this. 70 of them. All like this. But see, games like Madara, that one I have no problem painting the whole thing because there's not as many miniatures. And when you do, the most you're ever going to get is 6 of a certain miniature. And you can paint those 6 miniatures up. Sure, they're all the same, but now it's not as assembly line like Derek's saying as it normally is. Because your next thing you're painting, there's only like 2 of them that are ever going to be there. And the other thing about that game and other games of this thing is that you kind of know what's coming when it comes to the difficulty of the monsters, as opposed to the games where it's like, I'm going to flip over a card and any one of these 400 miniatures could just poop out on the board. I have no idea which one. I got to get all 400.
Yeah.
So that's never going to happen. Like, you're not going to see a painted copy of OrcQuest because I just don't have the time to do all that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm really working hard to try to get Resident Evil painted, but my zombies are still gray because I just so many of them on the board. But at least I got my heroes painted. So I've kind of gotten to that point where it comes to paintable games. I paint the heroes now.
Yeah. Steve, what were you gonna say?
Slightly different topic there, but no, I agree with you, Baron. Like, I think keeping those down to smaller numbers is gonna help quite a bit. What I was thinking about is more when we were talking about Rogue Angels and what was the impact on their success the second time around. I think media is a big one.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I also I've seen there's a big trend in, if you look at crowdfunding campaign pages, what is usually one of the first things you see when you get to a page?
Either how many hours the game is or how many minis it comes with.
Exactly. There's a huge
how many
focus
hours
on
of gameplay do you have?
yeah. There's a huge focus
miniatures.
on like, hey, look at these beautiful sculptures we have, which are cool, right? But is that a factor in what's driving the community as a whole for deciding on what version to get?
I think it does play that's part of marketing.
Right.
There's a thing that there's a documentary that was done on how marketing makes you think you're making the decision but you're not. And it's really slick and subtle how they do it, and that is one of those things of it. It's
Exactly.
I'm going to show you how pretty this could be.
Right.
We have it in Standees.
But look at me.
If you want.
Look how pretty it is. Exactly.
And then as we unlock stretch goals with pictures of minis. And so then FOMO start. Anyway, but if you ever get a chance to look at it, I get what you're saying. Look at that documentary. It's really interesting.
And that's what I'm getting down to. Like, I wonder if like that is a huge bias already that is pushing people. Hey, we've got the standee version and mini version, but first thing on the page, look at these beautiful minis.
Yeah.
Look how beautiful this game can be. Look at all this stuff, right? And now we're already being fed or funneled towards that option.
And you don't know you're being funneled towards it because that's what you're always seeing. And it's worse on you when you do the research, because in the research you're diving deep into this page, so you're constantly taking in that visual information.
Exactly. And then look at all the other pages because they're all looking at. Because I guess the big thing is when you see a page with a ton of minis, all these sculpts, right? It's catching your eye. It's having you stay on that page longer. Yeah. Right? As opposed to another game that doesn't necessarily have that has information up there. You're going to get the information and you can move on. Yeah. And then maybe you forget about it. I don't know, because who knows, right? Yeah. So, long story short, I think this is all these cogs are kind of feeding us through to these one solutions. And the reason why I want to have this chat is I'm worried about the standee options. Or the other options, the lower end options, whatever happens to be, right? Because I'm aware that those don't get supported, and I feel like those should probably be avoided.
Yeah, and there's so
Go ahead.
no. I'm agreeing with you on that, and I'm agreeing with you too that there needs. I think there where you were saying don't give me an option. As we've been talking, my brain's going to. I think there needs to be an option.
Okay.
Because not everyone can afford $4.49.
Exactly.
I know I damn sure can't, but not
Right.
everyone can afford $4.49. So then we create you know what I say like about that stuff to where it's just more okay, so now I can't play your game.
Yes.
Because life has dealt me the hand where I cannot afford these things. So now I can't enjoy your game. And if you've omitted the standee option and you give me nothing but minis and the price point's higher because printing, molds, blah blah blah, that I now have to wait X amount of years for your game to not mean a damn anymore for me to be able to get it, to play it, to try it out, to enjoy it.
And feeding into that, because I agree completely with what you're saying. Feeding into that, I'll give you a standee option. A year later, expansion comes out. You cannot get the expansion.
That's why I said I think there needs to be the two. If you start with two, you got to stay with two.
Agree completely. But the trend is we're not seeing that
because the production cost is higher.
Exactly.
Like I can see both sides of that issue.
Right.
It's just more if
is the solution to drop production costs overall in games,
or is the solution to change the way you're playing games? Snow has brought this up multiple times. I'm totally on the level with her. I don't want to see 100 standees on the board, let alone like miniatures. Like it doesn't matter what you're giving me.
Yeah.
I change the game. I like, for example, we're gonna go back to Machina Arcana. I'm afraid of one guy on the board, let alone if I'm planning to play zombie side. Like, oh my gosh, here come like 3 zombies. Whoopie doo. Oh, here comes 5 zombies. Here comes 20 zombies. Oh my gosh. Okay, well, there's 20 pieces of cardboard or 20 pieces of plastic. Maybe it's time to change the game. You know what I mean? Maybe that's something they should be looking into. Instead of saying it comes with like 250 minis, say, hey, it comes with 50 miniatures and this is how the game's played. Each miniature actually impacts the game. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I will always try to find a way to show that minis don't matter. And that's just my crusade. That I will march that line alone. But it's just more to answer your question, 2 paths, stick with 2 paths because there's different price points. But then on the other side of that, that's from the backer, from the creator. I can't stick with 2 price points because only 12 people want standees while 3 billion people want miniatures, and 12 standees will cost me double the amount of just getting the molds and doing the minis, so that's not feasible. So I can't do that. Okay, well, I can't back your game. All right, well, that's unfortunate, but 3,000 people did, so I'm going to cash a check. So it's just, and I'm not saying that as them being a dick. It's just a reality of it.
Right.
Yeah,
and I think that it's just tough because somebody's going to suffer no matter what, and I hate that. I hate
that.
They
couldn't do something.
There's nothing we could. It's just how it works, and I hate it.
I don't know. Okay, so I'm gonna go on a limb here. This is
limb.
Here's my UX brain coming out. I think there's too many tools being used incorrectly in game board space.
Oh, agree.
And I'm saying that from the standpoint of
agree.
If my game requires facing, set it up so I need facing. If it doesn't require facing, don't worry about it. Choose a cheaper option, right? Like we said, for example, Marvel United, perfect example. All you need to know is where is my piece within one of these 6 spaces. It could easily be a token.
So what if a publisher is thinking that, and we could talk about
Go
Emil,
ahead.
because
Go ahead.
remember when Emil created Rogue Angels, he created it with Standees, and he was thinking this is to the design, I don't need to go crazy.
Right.
But what if the feedback that he got, he's not on here to answer that, but what if the feedback that he got was, we want minis?
Yeah, that's
So
the kicker.
so then now you got to give the people what they want if you want to get your vision created.
I
So
think there were
what
two
so
things
now
that
I'm
people wanted
doing
to play.
things that are outside the scope of the design of the game because
Mm-hmm.
the mass market is saying that's what they want.
Agreed.
Yeah, there were two
That's
things that he got a lot of people asking about. One was minis, and the other one was reusable stickers.
Yeah.
Because people didn't want to. It's not he built kind of a legacy game. People are like, I think legacy games are the way of the dodo. People aren't seeing. I don't think people like to play the game and not have the ability to play the game again. You know what I mean?
Mm-mm.
And I think that was a nice trend for a while, and it was kind of cool. There were some good ones, and then there was what was that one called?
Pandemic.
I bet that was a good one.
Just
Oh, that's
tearing
a
up
good
the
one.
cards hurt my soul.
Oh, I didn't tear up any cards. Yeah.
Yeah, no, there were some good ones, and then there's Betrayal Legacy. So I mean,
Yeah.
there's some good legacy games
Yeah.
out there, and then there's that one. Like I liked all the Pandemics; thought those were fantastic. But I don't know how Pandemic Zero did compared to 1 and 2 and or anything, but
I liked it. It was good.
Yeah.
I'm sure it did fine. But I just think that style of game has kind of gone away, and people want to be able to play their games. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And so when that came up, he was like, "Well, I wasn't thinking you just play the game with new characters. But what if I want to use a character with another person?" I mean, and those are the kind of things that were that he had to go back to the drawing board and kind of work on to try to make
Yeah.
sure.
And what if there
He
was
said
some
it's
solution?
massive. They wanted miniatures, so he's like, "I think I'm going to do hero
Yeah.
miniatures."
I mean, maybe
And
maybe the solution is just do a small amount of upgrade than the base needed. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm just
Or
throwing stuff out there.
if possible, find a way to get to a price point on your game. So say you got $300. I'm just throwing numbers, not even a thing. I know nothing about the way games are made.
I've got
No, it's
$2.
$300 price point to make game X. All right, so we're gonna make game X. It's gonna come with 65 miniatures, 10 hero miniatures. It's gonna have 40 hours of gameplay. $300 price point. Okay, it's going. Everything's great. Oh, we hit like $200,000. Fantastic. Now, because he's hit that mark, wouldn't there be a way to be like, okay, we've hit this mark. We are able to now give standee options for anyone who does it because we can absorb that cost, even though we're going to lose money because the cost of that game now instead of having 200,000, maybe I only have $150,000 because maybe I don't know, let's say 100 people went to that standee option and it was a cheaper option. But since he's already got it to a certain point, he knows whatever he could absorb whatever that standee cost is if there's not a lot of people that do it. If a lot of people do it, it's going to be great because now both games are going to be made, or both versions are going to be made, and he's making money on it. Because no matter what a game comes down to, whether it's awesome or not, it has to do with whether or not it can get the money to make it. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
Well,
that'd be an
you still
awesome way to
work.
do it. Instead of saying, here's both options. Oh, well, only 20 people did the standee option. I'm losing like $50,000 of standee option to
Yeah.
make their list. Let's say $1,000 a game to make the standee option, but I'm going to appease these 20 people. But if I'd have gotten 200, then it would have, the cost would have been, I would have had no cost because the amount would have been.
The only way that's feasible is if Kickstarter campaigns are honest about their pricing. And
Right.
not Kickstarter, the people who are creating the campaigns. There is no way that say I need to raise $20,000 to make this game. That's BS. They need to raise way more than that. And they're doing that because once again, this is marketing. People like to see that, oh yeah, this game is 300, 400, 500% funded.
Yeah.
So if game creators are honest about how much it actually costs and how much they need per game, so this is my funding goal, then I think Barrett's vision is possible because once they hit that goal, that's a realistic number, and then they can say, okay, past that we can absorb the cost of giving standees.
Right.
The issue with that though is on expansions you still have the same problem because if I do an expansion and I don't hit that number I need to get to be able to even allow to do the retail version, I'm still screwed.
But your game's already out there. People are playing your game.
It's true.
Now,
But like,
now even more of the honesty can come out. Hey, we're going to come back with an expansion. We're hoping for standees, but in order to do that, we have to hit this mark. Otherwise, it's not feasible to be able to do it. I apologize, but that's the way our game. In order for us to
honest,
it's
that,
true.
and
That's
that
true.
I think
That's true.
I think what you find is when what Barrett's saying, when that happens, people fund.
Yeah,
The community does rally. They do support. They do want people's vision to come true, but there needs to be honesty around that stuff.
yeah. If you upfront said I need to reach this mark to even afford the standee version,
And it's a realistic number.
realistic number, exactly, exactly. That seems feasible, right? It still have the
Right.
risk in the future that maybe you don't hit that mark, and
Yeah.
then you don't get that support, which is that's
Yeah.
because ultimately it ties that to your point earlier, which is like if people want a game, it's nice to be able to find an affordable solution for everybody.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
Because unfortunately, not everyone's in the
There's
same
a
situation.
affordable solution. It's called Tabletop Simulator.
Well, that's a different topic.
Yeah.
Yes,
We'll move on. That's a
Yeah.
different topic.
We could talk about that in a couple of weeks.
That I could talk about, but that's a different topic. Go ahead. Go
We can
ahead.
talk about that 4 weeks. All right. And then the other thing is, I think I know, like we're seeing sometimes people trying to get games might not be honest about the numbers they need and things like that. But I know that sometimes there's other factors we don't know about. So, like, say I need, if say like one person comes on, I need $80,000 to make this game, and it comes with all this stuff. You're like, how does that guy only need 80,000? This other guy needs like 250,000 to the game look very similar in the amount of stuff you're getting. We don't also know, maybe they've gone to a publisher and said, hey, if you can get this much money, we will help you get the rest of that funded. But it's almost like a Shark Tank concept, where once you get to this, if you can get that much, we'll do the rest of it for you, but then we get 30% of everything.
Yep.
I mean, we don't know how much of that happens behind the scenes either.
Yeah.
There's an interesting comment here. It says, with the current point, what about Dune and having minis be a separate expansion?
I think
there are
it's
games that
still,
do
it still
that.
holds to the same of what Barrett's saying. Nothing's changed on that standpoint. All he's doing is just flipping it instead of saying, "Oh, when we make this much, we can do minis," instead of saying standees. It's the same point.
You still have multiple SKUs.
It's
so.
still the same point Barrett's making. I think that will only be feasible if campaigns can be honest about how much they need to fund, instead of saying, "Oh, we just need $20,000 to make."
Like, here's the core game for
or whatever. No, you don't. You need more.
Yeah, but you do see games coming out like, here's $120 for the core game. It comes with this. Moving down the list, all of a sudden it's like, oh, and if you want to tack on the minis, it's $65. Oh, if you want to like add the extra expansion, it's with minis, it's going to be, the next expansion is going to be like $35, or it could be $95 if you have minis. And then of course, like you're saying, then you get that all-in pledge, like you can save $30-$40 if you do the all-in with all the minis, all the blah. So I mean, there are a lot of Kickstarters out there that don't give you minis off the front. They're part of like maybe an expansion coming out or things like that, but then they have the all-in pledge that you can do. There are
it's more feasible for it to be the other way around. If y'all want it to work, it would have to be, here are the minis, because marketing has already molded the mind of, if I'm going to back a game subconsciously, I'm looking at the minis, and the minis will be pretty. So go with the minis, and then like Barrett said, say, okay, we hit this amount of money, we have a standee option if that's what you want instead.
Case in point, Skyrim did that. Skyrim had its miniatures were only the heroes, and all the rest were tokens. Unless you have got the expansion, you could get the expansion that turned all those tokens into miniatures if you wanted.
Yep.
So they did have that option. So the core game came without miniatures except for the heroes.
Yep.
Which is the deal.
Yep.
But
now the
thing is, you want to probably go back and look at how many people did just the core game versus, oh, I'm going to get that in the miniatures. Why would I not want the miniatures? For that game, you would not want the miniatures because they're absolutely atrocious. I've never used it.
The other thing is it takes away from the experience, because you need a number.
Yeah.
You need a number token anyway to know what card to grab.
Skyrim.
I never used them. I was like, I opened them, looked at them, and pretty much put them in the I'm never going to use these pile.
Skyrim Modiphius's Skyrims is another game with minis that you don't need.
Yep.
You don't need them.
Nope.
At all.
In fact, it takes away from the experience. So.
I'm moving them around the board. Oh wait, I got to turn a card to fight some. Okay.
I want to talk about this one. This is an interesting one. What about providing STLs? Elaine says so. STL files you're not familiar, they are basically the print files for 3D printers.
Mhm.
And so people could print their own minis at some point for that. And that's an interesting idea. I mean, printers
That's a really affordable idea.
It is. It kind of. You're spending about $200 for a 3D printer nowadays. A decent one, right? So that's expensive, but it's $200
you're right.
across all your games.
It's more feasible for the publisher. The publisher, for example, is the one that this is more feasible for.
Yes.
Because that's the person that this is good for. And it's also good for us because now you're given the option, if you want to pay, instead of paying the extra $250 to have those miniatures for your Dread Dungeon Dice. What game were you talking about?
I don't know.
What game were you talking about? The $440 game or something? Dice Throne. So say you don't want all those miniatures of Dice Throne, but you'd like to have the ones for the heroes. If these like STL files are only $50, you could print out the ones you wanted. You don't have to print everything. It's not like you have to print out all those miniatures. You can print out what you want.
Yeah.
The kicker is it needs to have a small number of minis because you can't do a Zombicide game with STL printer. Just not possible.
No, but there are people out there that probably could.
Yeah. I
mean, there are. There are going to be people out there that can do this. So, I mean, having that STL option is a really good point. I think that's a fantastic idea.
Yeah, it's a good idea. My problem is I oscillate between the buyer and the seller brain. And so as soon as we're like, well, give them the STLs, my brain immediately clicked to buyer. And I was like, not everybody can afford that. But it's a great option for the seller. It's a great option.
You don't think taking that cost, because the nice thing is you're not buying it for each game. You're not buying a print for each game. You're just buying a printer, a tool.
I live check to check.
Yeah, I know.
I cannot afford to buy a $200 printer because if I do that,
you can't buy a $200 game then.
No, I can't.
Right.
I want more affordable options.
Right.
Like even a $200 game is too expensive.
But the whole point of this is it's not like you need to buy the printer for the game. The printer is allowing you to deluxify it.
Okay. All right. I see where Elaine's going. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I think that's a pretty decent solution.
I think that's a good solution.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's basically make the game. Here are the base components. And then if there are any minis, here is the STL. So you get a standee version with the STLs if you want them.
That's correct.
Or you could get the miniatures version. They're going to print them. They're going to make miniatures.
Or if they're going to print it. Yeah.
I mean, but they're giving you an option. Like, hey, here's an STL.
I think it's faster turnaround without mini printing too. Like the game that was I just got a shipping notice for it and it funded like a month ago. Is Solar Titans.
That is like I'm going to say that must be an absolute record.
But I think it's a good idea. I think that is a great idea. Elaine said that. I think
they did.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea.
It helps a lot if you have a makerspace near you
because then it's free.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and libraries have a lot of this stuff. I don't know if they have resin printers though, or is it FDM?
We have a couple in our area that have I don't know what kind of printers there, but they do have 3D printers that you can pay to get something.
But are they resin or FDM?
I don't know. I don't know what they are. But they use them for Dungeons and Dragons because they'll actually have a painting session about every 2 months where kids can get their Hero Forge miniature and they send it to the library guy that's in charge of. There's like a guy in charge of the group, and then he'll print out the miniature, and then you come to the library and paint it with him. And so like they got about 10 kids sitting around painting.
So they're okay. All right, so y'all sold me. There are
free we
options. Did it. There are free options in the community for 3D printing to happen for people who can't afford it. So that solves that problem.
Correct.
Then giving the STLs so that people can print the minis themselves will cut down on the cost of the Kickstarter. So that solves that. Okay. All right. You sold me.
It's a decent option, honestly.
You sold me on it. That could solve it.
Of course, now the only thing you're going to have a problem with is, Derek, is if you have the game and want to sell the game to somebody else, how do you give them the STL files? Is it something that's going to be tied to an account? Like, do they have to have your email address, or can you actually provide them with can you send them those files? I would think those would be some kind of.
Microsoft is taking care of that in that they transfer keys.
Right.
So if I sell somebody my game,
publishers want those keys just flying around. Only 4 people. Let's say like maybe I only back with the ST files on it. Do you think that publisher is going to let me give out that STL
It's
file
not
key to like
it's not
32
more of a
people?
give it out. It's a limit use per one user. So I can only go on their site to print from their site. And then if I sell my game, all I do is I transfer the account to that person who has it.
Yeah,
It's still a limited one use site.
it doesn't quite solve the. It helps, but it doesn't quite solve the
You-
problem
you
because it doesn't stop someone from printing out the minis and selling them independently, right? Which
Well,
is
that's not, yeah, that's going to
You
happen.
you can't stop
you
that.
can't stop it, right?
If you heard of the site called Etsy, that kind of already happens.
Yeah,
It
see,
really
they
does. I
copyright
mean,
for
there's a
personal
lot of
use.
people that have made a lot of things for different games
Yeah,
that they
yeah,
can use.
they can copyright it. But to me, you can
Yeah.
still. I've seen that already happen with a lot of different licenses where they've said, "Oh, you fired someone from your company who had that license. Your company bought the license, and and it's tied to an email. Then all you would do is transfer the email, and it's a limited use copyrighted license that person then now has, and you don't have."
That helped because for Deep Rock Galactic, the first campaign, they actually provided STL files for all the minis, which is awesome. But it was like more of the honor system. Hey, this is for your personal use only. You cannot sell. You cannot print for other people. Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And so having some type of system for that would probably be a little bit. I don't know.
I think that was a great suggestion, Elaine. Like fabulous.
Yeah.
That I have no argument against it.
Oh, that's actually honestly that's a perfect solution. Now, I don't have a 3D printer. I don't know if I'm ever going to get a 3D printer. But that'd be a fan. I mean, I don't know why I don't have a 3D printer because I do so much with Dungeons and Dragons. But that would solve a lot of problems with this because then again, the only thing again now I'm stuck with this. Oh my gosh, I've got an unpaintable game. Well, now I've got an unprintable game where it's like, oh, any one of these 300 miniatures just poop out on the board at any time. Well, now I got to print those miniatures.
It's an option. It's a blank.
It is an option. I understand that. So so in that instance, I'd almost just rather go with the miniature option they're going to give me because in the long run versus cost of printer and components and stuff, it probably is going to be about the same price. If I needed all those miniatures to play the game.
I don't know that's true.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
I don't
know. I don't know the cost of how much. I don't know how much 3D printer material costs. I don't know how
the
much
gel is like $30.
Depends on the size. It depends on the size of the mini, but it could be anywhere from like $2 from.
Yeah, my Anycubic, when I had my Anycubic printer before I donated it, I got like 3 bottles of the gel for like $25.
Yeah, it's like $30 for a bottle.
And that bottle prints a large amount of minis. I think you can cover a game in about 2 bottles. 2 to 3 bottles.
Ryan.
Zing zing.
That's actually exactly true. That's now I think about this exactly why I don't have one. If I need like, I need bandit miniatures. Well, I've got you name 9 games. I've got bandit miniatures. I can just go grab.
Yeah, Kim.
There are people printing for you. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we have a printer. We use it for crafting stuff and printing stuff, and we used to do quite a bit of giveaways for printers, print stuff. Like when we finished our Assassin's Creed playthrough, we printed a giant Ezio's and sent it to a few people.
Man, I really like that idea, but I wonder how adaptive that'll be. Like, I don't know, but I really like that idea.
I do know I've seen a lot of dungeons. I shouldn't say a lot. I've seen a few Dungeons and Dragons. What do you call it? Kickstarters where it's like, hey, we're doing this adventure, and then one of the stretch goals is actually like, or one of the options is like $60 for the book, or 25 for the PDF, or 120 you can get the book and the STLs for the miniatures that would go with the enemies that you'd be facing in that adventure, and then of course the next one is like all of them printed up, and then like and then also next thing you got an all in where you're like playing with the dungeon. All of a sudden he's playing the game for you or something. So I have seen those out there, and I've also seen a lot of just straight miniature Kickstarters now, no games, no nothing, just straight up, hey, here's some dwarf miniatures that I've noticed are more, hey, you can just get the STL files for this much. I have seen a lot. I've seen that becoming it's becoming more of a norm. So I would not be surprised that we start seeing this in board games at some point soon.
Yeah. I think that's a good.
But I think that's also kind of wraps up the chat.
Yeah,
so.
that's a good end in the lane, man.
So we won today. We're victorious.
I'm on the hashtag no mini thing going.
Yeah, the resin
I
thing
still like
is
miniatures,
the
of
thing
course.
people don't like.
And if it has nothing to do with I, I just have a hard time when it's a lot of the same miniature. That's my biggest problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
there we go. Let's burn the planet to the ground.
We'll just launch all that plastic into the sun at some point.
Yeah, the sun will take care of it.
Did I ever tell you the story about the nurse at work that I work with? Did I tell you this story about my
No.
electric car? So for those of you who don't know, I drive an electric car. It is not the like cream of the crop. It's a 2016 Leaf. So this is like when they're first kind of coming out. They're like really good in Florida and California. That's kind of where they were probably started, especially in California, right? And all of a sudden, one of the nurses said, I understand why you think electric cars are so good. I mean, it's not like you're saving the environment. I'm like, I never said I was saving the environment. I'm saving money on gas. That's all I'm doing. I'm not really saving the environment. I try to tell her. She goes, well, I mean, because I was thinking about it. I mean, yours is so old. I mean, where's that battery going to go? You know, they're going to throw it in a landfill somewhere, and it's just going to really ruin the environment. I said, maybe
But
that wasn't
she
my thought
ignored your
process.
last statement.
And then she goes, okay. So, and I go, well, that's okay. We're just gonna put them all in a rocket and launch them into the sun. You can't do that. Why? It's actually a really good idea, right? She's like, well, no. She goes, you could damage the sun. I'm like, damage the sun? She goes, well, yeah, you can't fire those in there. I mean, all those batteries would probably hurt the sun. I'm like, what? She goes, it's not gonna make it to the sun. It's gonna burn it before it gets to the sun.
So-
You don't know that. Yep, I do. I do know that. Why told me that? She's like, no, because we don't even know what the sun's made of. Yep, we do. Science.
Hold on.
Exactly. So I all of a sudden then look at her like I had to try to figure out if she was kidding with me or not, and she was not. She
Like,
was
no,
so
we know exactly
honest
what
about
the sun's
like,
made of.
I just don't like your solution. I don't think that's ever going to work because that you can't the sun. I'm like,
we don't know what the sun's made of.
and so I walked out. Yes, it was.
She doesn't
Apparently
need to
she
know
not-
astrophysics
Now, the funny
to
thing
do
is,
medical. You don't need
and
astrophysics.
I don't want people to
medical
think that
don't
this
go
nurse is
together.
a fool or anything
So-
because she's actually one of the best, like medically wise. She knows so much about like medical
You
field.
gotta sacrifice one thing for
Like,
another. You
She
can't know
did
it
not
all.
know the ideas of science when it came to the science of batteries and the sun.
We don't know what the sun.
Oofta.
Yeah, we do.
Oofta.
What's interesting?
You don't even know
Take
what the
this
sun's
back
made
to
of.
for a
No,
fun
we
fact,
do.
so she can use this. So she can use this in more of her nonsensical arguments. Take this back to her that a house frying pan, if it's able to make it through to the core, can destroy the sun. That's true. Iron destabilizes the
fusion?
will destabilize fusion and cause a supernova.
Iron wood, that's true.
So that's
true.
why I was like, if it can survive the heat and get to the center, it will
yeah.
disrupt fusion and cause a supernova. Your iron frying pan. Take that to her. Let her use that in a nonsensical
She doesn't
argument.
work there anymore.
It would
She's
never
gone
make
long
it
gone.
there.
Long gone. She has moved on to another facility. She doesn't work there anymore.
New regular sunny story.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Regular.
would never make it there, but have her use that as a bullet in her gun of nonsensical argument. It'll be great.
It's going to ruin the sun. No, it won't even make it. How do you know? Oh, I'm pretty sure I know that.
Oh, see, there's this thing called heat.
If Superman can throw a bunch of nuclear missiles at the sun, I'm sure a few batteries are going to be okay.
There. Oh my gosh. Anyway, go ahead. Close it, because then I'm gonna go into like bad movies about stuff like that. Let's restart the core of the Earth.
That's right.
What we need to do is set off nuclear detonations that'll restart the core of the Earth. Yeah, that's how it works. That's how it works.
No.
Science.
So on that note, we'll end it for today. We are in Game of Palooza mode.
Woo!
So after this, we will be doing Marvel United. Custom villain designed by this guy.
Oh
Come
my
take a look at
god.
that one.
Oh my god.
And we got a lot more coming. So, Baron, what do you have coming up on your channel?
Hold on.
Barrett just released a video last night.
Orquest.
Mission 2.
Ooh, those.
Yeah, sorry. OrQuest Mission 2 is going to drop today. It's done. I just have to hit the go button. Or did I already drop it?
You
It's
already
already
dropped
up.
it.
It's
It's already
Oh,
up.
like I said, OrcQuest 2 came out yesterday.
Good lord.
Super good. This week I'm going to be doing OrcQuest season or mission 3 because I don't feel I did well. Well, I did too well on mission 2 actually. And then I've got my my smog singers all painted up. So we are going to do that. I am going back to now starting my painting streams again. I have a super exciting thing a couple things to share. The reason I've not been doing painting streams for a long time is because my D&D campaign ended, and they in the end had to fight Tiamat. So I have, over the course of a long time here, been painting a miniature that is about from my arm to my elbow that looked like that of Tiamat. So it's like this miniature that pretty much took up the entire one part of this table with these
Gorgeous
wings
looking.
outstretched.
Gorgeous.
So it took a long time to paint that. So that's why I haven't doing painting streams. And no, I was not going to paint it live because I didn't want them to know about it. So that's why I didn't do that. So anyway, we are doing a live painting stream this week on Thursday, and Jen Plays Games is joining me. We are going to be doing
Jen is painting with you?
Yep, we're going to be doing Tamashi. We're going to be painting some Tamashi miniatures using a lot of Turbo Dork paints. She just got some Turbo Dork paints in. So we're going to work together to get some of those painted up. And then I'm going to try to get a playthrough of that at some point. We'll see. It's not sadly high on my list to get out. I'd like to get my next OrcQuest and Kingdom Death Monster video out there. Colin and I on Tuesday will be continuing our Arkham Horror stream.
What cycle?
We might win a scenario.
What cycle?
Well, hold on. Depends. Who's setting up the game?
Colin said he's coming early.
Wow, that was a long pause.
He's checking to see if he could come a little bit early. I gave him so many sad heart attacks yesterday.
Okay.
We read the book and said, okay, now you have to reveal the 2 set aside cards. You set them aside, right? I'm like, I set these aside, and they're like the 2 cards that you can players that you can find and put in your deck, your allies. He's like, no, you're supposed to shuffle these up, take 1 out each. Oh, I just thought you're supposed to shuffle it all together.
What mission are y'all on?
Find the person or whatever. So you had to find a location and a person and set those aside, and then you had to go. Yeah. Well, guess you didn't put anything aside.
Yeah.
Me.
Yeah, I know where you are now. Okay.
Yep.
So we have failed 2 missions. We're hoping to succeed in the next one. I think that's it. So painting stream on. So I'll recap. I do this a lot. I do recaps when I polo my friends because I talk for a long time and then they don't remember what I was talking about.
What?
So to recap, OrcQuest 2 is out. I'm doing Kingdom Death Monster and OrcQuest Mission 3. I'm doing painting with Jen Plays Games on Thursday. I think at 7:30 p.m. Central. Huh?
Jen Cam plays games.
Jen can plays games. I fail every time. And then what was the 5th thing? Oh, Arkham Horror with Colin on Tuesday.
Cool.
And so now when you're done with this, come back in about 20 minutes, half hour, and watch Steve and Kanji and Kim play a game.
Yep.
What are you playing? I missed it.
Marvel United. Some really terrible, awful human being made a homebrew that we're gonna play.
Does it have a miniature?
Yes.
Nice.
Look at that. The double barrels were loaded. Yeah. All right. So we have that coming up.
Yeah, I think it was in about 15 minutes. I was gonna double check real quick on when that's gonna be live because I thought it said.
Yeah, Baron, I paused on your OrcQuest because I'm playing it on Tuesday. So so no spoilers.
Huh.
But
11.
At 11.
Yeah.
Okay.
So 45 minutes from now we'll do it.
Enough time.
Nice.
Yep.
I'm excited to watch
today.
your
Stick around. We're gonna be playing all day, playing board games. It's gonna be a good time.
Mm-hmm.
Wish Baron could join, but
I wish you would have brought OrcQuest to Steve. He would have been.
I should have, but I should have done that. We could do it next time, but I should have done that.
Yeah.
We'll play it
because it's a good stealth. It's got stealthy stuff in it,
and I like it.
He's making the switch.
No, because I don't have to be stealth. I could just kill the bell person and be fine.
That's right. You can be Orky.
No, but huge shout out to Baron for helping me with a lot of the rules. So I'm looking forward to the playthrough on Tuesday.
If you are looking for even more rules explanations, please check out the pinned comment in my first video where I'll put all the mistakes that I did.
We're supposed to do it for 45 minutes. Think about the kids.
All right, so we got to set up.
Yeah, we got
Okay.
to just transition for that. So, yeah, that's coming up, and then we're gonna try Irun later today as well.
We've also got another game we had today.
Just those two. Maybe another one later tonight. We haven't scheduled yet.
Okay, and we had another one. We had like 4 for today.
No, we had 4 total. We did 2 last night because it was brain fart.
Legendary
Champions and Legendary.
Champions and Legendary
Yep.
both didn't end well.
Yep, and then United, and then we're gonna do Irun.
All right, we can sneak some more in there.
Yeah, we'll try.
Okay.
More. But yeah, that's the plan for today, and then Monday I will be doing a playthrough with a Flame and Fang with Peter. It's currently on Kickstarter, designer. So, and then more coming for later that week. So.
Okay.
Yes, more games. Yes, we'll do more games. Exactly.
Kim's gonna set it all up. I'll expect a comment next to me is ...
Oh boy.
All right.
Okay. Exactly.
All right. Cool.
All right. Thanks everyone for watching. See you next time.
Yes. Yes. You see Yoda? Found him you have.